Hey y'all, it's Lindsay, and today I want to share with you a food prep video. We are into the second week of February, and I feel like this entire year has been so far ahead of me. I've been chasing after it, trying to get a grasp on it, and I have failed miserably. So I decided today I would take the time to put together food prep for my coming week so that I can try to at least catch up to this year, and if not, possibly like get ahead of it. That would be awesome. I am feeling slightly under the weather, which is fine. It's, crazy weather out here in Wisconsin, and that always happens to me. So there we go. I want to get some really basic prep done. I know I want to fill up my veggie box. I have to make more mayonnaise, and I really want to get some hard-boiled eggs going. And I think I also want to make some wonderful white blender bread. I have changed up how I do wonderful white blender bread, and so I would like to show you that. And I think I should also go ahead and make some breakfast burritos in order to fill up the freezer so that we can have quick, easy breakfasts. Jared and I were just talking earlier about how we have gotten so far off from where we started with this whole sugar-free, healthy lifestyle, and we are wanting to get back to that. And I know in a Wellness Wednesday, I had mentioned wanting to get back to kind of like a Whole Foods Trim Healthy Mama, and I think I'm going to take it a little bit further than that. So everything I'm going to prep today is definitely going to be Trim Healthy Mama friendly, and it's definitely going to be low carb / keto friendly, and it's also mostly whole foods. So let me get you set up and show you my food prep.
First up is setting out a couple of eggs for mayonnaise later on. I like those to be room temperature, so I get that going first thing. Then I'm going to hard boil a dozen eggs in my Instant Pot. This is my 8-quart Instant Pot, and I like to cook those eggs on high pressure for 3 to 4 minutes, depending upon how many I put into the Instant Pot. And while those are coming to pressure, I'm going to go ahead and get to work on my veggie box. We like to have colorful peppers and carrots and celery as our pre-cut, ready-to-grab veggies. So we can pull these out every time we have lunch, every time we have dinner. It's just a really great way for us to always have fresh vegetables out and available to us. And it also makes food prep throughout the week go a lot more smoothly. In the dinner time hour, I don't have to clean peppers and then slice them up and then figure out where to put the extra pieces of peppers, because it seems I'm never using an entire bell pepper for a recipe. So doing it this way, they're already ready to go. It's quick and easy if I'm just going to do like a pan stir fry, or if I'm going to make fajitas in the skillet, or if I need them diced up. It's a really quick process to get that done, and it just makes my life a whole lot less stressful. In our veggie box, we also like to have carrots and celery, and oftentimes I just buy the entire bundle of celery and just whole carrots. However, I decided to go the easy route with pre-cut celery this go around, and baby carrots because the girls requested those. The girls don't eat celery very well if it's unpeeled, so I do go ahead and peel it and then chop it into smaller stalks for their sake. And one of my favorite ways to snack on celery is to make sriracha mayonnaise and just use that as a dip when I am just feeling kind of hungry and munchy. The sriracha really gives the mayo a really good kick, which makes me feel like I'm eating something more substantial because it's got a lot of flavor to it. And having those baby carrots, I generally just don't prefer to buy baby carrots. And I'm going to wind up cutting those into quarters, which seems really ridiculous whenever you think about it. However, I find that baby carrots, while they're super short, they are always really, really fat. and the girls seem to have a problem eating them very well whenever they're super fat. And yes, they're 8, 5, and 1, but it's just one more thing that I can do to alleviate the frustration for them and help them to consume more fresh vegetables. So I'm willing to make those extra steps to get them to that point. And by this time, my eggs are about finished in the Instant Pot. So I am going to get a bowl of ice water ready to go for me to ice bath those once they come out of the Instant Pot. And now I'm going to peel those up. I like to store these peeled in my refrigerator in a container, so it's a really fast snack for us or a really quick breakfast for me in the mornings. And I really love hard-boiled eggs with Cholula on it. Again, the spicier it is, the more it feels like I'm eating something substantial. And now I'm going to go ahead and make my homemade mayonnaise. I do 2 eggs. I use a little squeeze of Dijon mustard, not too much. A shake or 2 of some pink salt, and then a little splash of apple cider vinegar. And because I'm using 2 eggs, I'm going to use pretty close to 2 cups of avocado oil here. And I like to stick the blender part of the immersion blender into the measuring cup to pour the oil down the side of it so that it doesn't mix into the eggs too quickly. And then I just turn on the blender and slowly pull it up out of the measuring cup as it turns into mayonnaise. It's a really, really quick process. Super thick mayonnaise. Fantastic. And now I'm going to make wonderful white blender bread, and I have begun adding a whole lot more xanthan gum. I use half of this little packet, and I use the whisk attachment to my immersion blender, and I whip these until they are super thick and pudding-like, kind of like a cross between a pudding and a meringue. And this seems to really, really help the wonderful white blender bread from sort of spilling out of the top of my bread loaf pans. I had been making this on cookie sheets for a while, which worked out really, really well until I started doing this. And then I'm going to use my homemade baking blend, but I'm not going to use the entire amount called for. I'm going to substitute out a 1/4 cup for just straight oat fiber. And then my Isopure whey protein isolate. I get that on Amazon and I love it. I'll be sure to link the Trim Healthy Table Cookbook in my description, so if you do not have it already, you can find it really quickly there. And this recipe is in the Trim Healthy Table Cookbook. And I like to just whisk it together with a fork, and it makes a really thick batter that's a little bit tricky to manage, but it is doable. Next up, I'm going to get my pan ready, and I have recently purchased this Pullman pan. It's a 13-inch Pullman pan. I had been wanting one for, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years now, and I finally invested in one. But because the wonderful white blender bread, the volume in that one recipe is not enough to even fill this pan halfway, I kind of make my own pan liner with the tin foil here, where I reduce the length of the pan probably about 3 inches or so. And in order to keep that side wall that's not up against the side of the pan standing on its own, I use a little Pyrex ramekin that is oven safe to support it. And I like to use this little oil sprayer that I got on Amazon with MCT oil to keep my bread from sticking to my foil. Once that's all smoothed out, I will pop that into my oven and let it bake. And I also decided it was time to make some more breakfast burritos. So I'm gonna get my sausage cooking here. And I've got these tortillas from my deep freeze. And so since they were frozen, I put them on the stove so they could kind of warm up while the sausage and eggs are cooking. And my camera battery died, so you didn't get to see me cooking the eggs and the peppers and all the things. But I shredded up some cheese. Those tortillas were kind of defrosted. They were defrosted enough to where I could pull them apart. And I just decided, I always do this. I layer a paper towel between each tortilla so that it makes it a quick, easy wrap up. And it makes it a really nice transition to the microwave on mornings whenever you're ready to eat these. And they do need to be a little bit more pliable than what they are right now. So once these are totally stacked up, I'm going to pop them in the microwave for about 10 to 15 seconds to try to make them a little bit more pliable. And there's my egg mixture. I did probably 6 ounces of ground sausage and 12 eggs in this mixture, along with about a quarter of each of those bell peppers. In order to, kind of give them a little bit more flavor and a few extra veggies. And I like to do a sprinkle of that Colby Jack cheese, about a quarter cup of egg mixture, roll it up, and then roll it in that paper towel. And it also really helps them to not stick to one another whenever they're in the freezer. So it's just a time saver and a sanity saver for me. Recently I had a friend who had a baby who she follows the Trim Healthy Mama way of eating. And I'm really bad at bringing people full-blown meals for, like the meal train thing or what have you. So instead, I baked her up a loaf of the wonderful white blender bread, and I made her a whole bunch of breakfast burritos, and then my bean burritos that I make for the freezer. I have a video on that. And so I brought her those instead, and I gotta be honest, I would love it if after having a baby, people would have brought me like meal prep kind of food, not just like one meal, but these kinds of things that you can just pull out of the freezer for breakfast, because you know how it is whenever you have a new baby. It's just good enough for you to be able to get functioning in the mornings, let alone try to feed yourself and the rest of your family. So by having these in the freezer, it's just really, it's just an all-around lifesaver for me. And my friend, she really appreciated it. And I think from now on, anybody I know that has a baby, this is exactly what I'm going to do. Make them a dozen breakfast burritos, a dozen bean burritos, and a loaf of bread, regardless of whatever type of eating way of eating that they practice. Would you ever consider doing that for your friends that have babies? I would love to know in the comments down below. I wasn't anticipating getting as many breakfast burritos out of this batch as I did, which was fantastic. I got a total of 16, so I planned to put a dozen into my freezer for future weeks, and I kept 4 in the refrigerator for the current week. And I do like to pull them out in that way, just pull out a few for the week, and once those are gone, just wait until the following week so that they last a little bit longer and I'm getting a little more variety in what we are eating during the day or for breakfast or whenever. Now that all of those are out of the way, my bread is starting to beep at me, and I wanted to show how the pan worked out so well. The sidewall held up beautifully. It works out so nicely. Thank you so much for coming along with me on this food prep. I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.